On to the next one. Again. There were lots of these ones at Jova.
When do these date from?
12th, 13th, 14th centuries, I would think. Again, this is definitely Arabic because it's got a lot of Arabic inscriptions on it. So, I mean, not in Arabic, it's Muslim, probably Azeri Turkish. And this one is very similar to many of the ram-shaped stones that were at Jova. Especially the carving on the horn, and especially this bit here. If you go on to the next photograph, scenes like that are very common on the gravestones and on the ram-shaped stones that were at Jova. It looks like a figure of nobility sitting on a carpet, being served by a servant who's handing him something. This is some sort of fruit growing on the tree. Right, so after going to Nakhichevan, I planned to, I went on the train from Nakhichevan to Jova, and I thought to try and photograph the graveyard. Unfortunately, when I got to the train station, some policemen saw that I was a foreigner, and they got on the train with me, and they made sure that I wasn't allowed to take any pictures. And so I was more or less escorted the entire way from Nakhichevan to Jova, which is about a 60-minute train ride. Nakhichevan is a very small place. You could drive from the north to the south in maybe 2 hours. It's tiny. So the graveyard, as I saw it, all the stones have been toppled, but most of them were still there. This was in October of 2005. So not October. It was August. I was in Nakhichevan from August 7th to 11th, August 2005. And of course, a couple of months later, the very last of the stones were destroyed, and the destruction, the evidence has been photographed from the Armenian side. So after I couldn't take any pictures of Jova, I got off the train and then got a bus to the second settlement in Nakhichevan, which is Ordubad. This is just Ordubad is much older. Although Ordubad is a younger city in terms of age, the buildings in Ordubad are much older than the ones in Nakhichevan, and it preserves a lot more of the traditional buildings. Like this is just a typical lane in the city. There are many more like this, and so on. And you just go through these really quickly. Typical lanes again, and house doorways. 19th century door. Again, probably 19th century with big symbolism to the buildings. And there's lots of this ironwork in many of the doors. And there are quite a few pictures of these, yeah. And you can stop at this one. See there's crosses here. So this may have been a Christian house. It's only in Turkey, where it was probably possible to be more openly Christian in the 19th and 18th century. Door knockers, the early shapes of crosses are evidence that the houses were lived in by Christians. So these very minor little crosses might be saying the sign that the owners were Christian, which would mean Armenian in this part of the world. On to the next one. Okay, hold on, back. Yeah, this is the main one of the main valleys in Nakhichevan. It's the Arinj Valley. The mountain at the end, Argam's already showing you photographs. So it's Arinj. It was a fortress on the top of the hill. The new name for it is Arinj, the Azeri name. And the big mountain, you can see this from everywhere in Nakhichevan. That's Ozazar. Again, it's been renamed. It's now called Yelanlida Snake Mountain. And all these villages were originally Armenian. I think it's Norashen is up here. Yeah, Abrakunis is over here. Then there's Norashen. There was the Kurin, the Catholic village. Kurna, yeah, Kurna was up here. Yeah, on to the next one. Yeah, another shot of the Odzazar, which is vertical almost everywhere you look at it. That's Arinj.
This is
Yeah, or Yarja, to give its original name. Another view, and I think this might be a cave up here. Again, Argam probably knows better. And you can see there, that's there are walls of the castle here. Okay, the reason why I went to this valley, well, I got a taxi from Nakhichevan to here, and I said I just wanted to go and see the mountain, and to see the Arinj mountain as well, because it was a credible reason and a neutral reason for going there, and not to arouse suspicion. But I really went to see this village, which is called Abercunis, and there was a big church here. When I got to the village, we couldn't find anything. We just asked some of the locals, and they directed us to this site where we were told that this was where the church had been. And as you can see, there's no grass anywhere growing. This was taken in 2005, so I would suspect the church was demolished maybe in 2004. Because a year later there would have been, if it was longer than a year, there would have been some grass growing on the site. On to the next slide. Just another view of the site. This is Argam's photograph and my photograph, and you can see it's exactly the same viewpoint. You can actually see there's a little water tower there, and it's still in the background there. So it is exactly that, and that's the road. And I think Argam was standing on the wall when he took it, because I couldn't get exactly the same spot. The wall was gone as well. On to the next one. Okay, Abercunis is it's quite an easy to reach place. So I wanted to discover how extensive the destruction had been. So I decided to go to a very remote place. And the remotest place I could find that I knew definitely that there had been a big church. It was a village called Shorut, and that's on the other side of the mountain that everybody sees from everywhere in Nakhichevan. Abercunis Valley is on, Arinj Valley is on the other side of this mountain. This village here is called Gah. Again, there used to be a church here, and it's now destroyed, nothing left. And there's a very narrow dirt road that runs all the way along here, and then there's at least another same amount of distance before you arrive at Shorut. So the next, so that's the entrance to Shorut with the Azeri flag and the village name. So I walked around. Before we got here, we stopped on the way, and we gave a villager a lift. He was walking to the village, and we asked him, was there a church in Shorut? And he said it's been destroyed. When we got to Shorut and we asked had there been a church here, all the villagers were saying no, there's no church here, there's never been a church here, and there's never been any Armenians here. So I had a look around, and if you go on to it was, so that's what it looked like, the church in Shorut, big. And eventually I discovered, well, by process of elimination, that on to the next, that this large open area was where the church had stood. Again, the destruction looks pretty recent. If you could just, if it were possible to zoom into there, you can see fragments of stonework and bricks still sticking out of the earth. So this is definitely the site of the church. So when I went there, pretty quickly was surrounded by villagers who were asking why I was here and so on. And that's when we were told, no, there's never been a church here, and there's absolutely never been any Armenians here. But strangely, a few of the villagers started speaking Armenian, mostly probably just to see if I could understand them. They were suspicious that I was an Armenian spy or that sort of thing. They also phoned the local military police in Julfa city. So on the way back on the road, we were met by a police car and taken to the civil police station in Joffa, and from there transferred to the military police station, and from there transferred to the sort of secret police, where I was taken to the hotel garden in the back of the hotel, and where there was the head of the secret police he never actually gave his name or his position, but I presume that he was a somewhat high up member of the local security police. And all my photographs were looked at, and anything that was suspicious was erased. And I was questioned about why I was in Azerbaijan, why I was in Nakhichevan, and I told him I'd just come to see what the architecture was like, and so on, and that why was I went to Shurut. I was questioned, and they. When I said because there was an Armenian church there, they asked me how did I know that, and I said because I'd seen pictures of the church in books, and of course they were saying, oh, it's just Armenian books. The Armenians were just lying, that there were never any Armenians living in Nakhichevan, and there were never Armenians in Shurut. And when I said, well, I've seen photographs, they were saying, this area then said, well, it's just Armenians have secretly come here and photographed our villages, then they've gone back to Armenia and they've, using Photoshop, they've invented the churches and just pasted them into the pictures. Well, this is interesting because it does imply that there's some thought process going on behind destruction, that it really is an attempt to completely eliminate all evidence of Armenian culture in Nakhichevan. And of course the same thing is going on in other parts of Azerbaijan as well. But it seems to be more extensive in Nakhichevan. In fact, it's probably total. I suspect that the graveyard, the Joffa graveyard, was just the very last thing to be destroyed, because it was left last because it's in a very public place, and also because its destruction was reported several times. They started it and then stopped the destruction, and they started again and then they stopped it, and then finally at the end of 2005 and the start of 2006 they finished the process. So if we go back on another next slide, yeah, next one. I think you're going backwards.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the delegation that went to UNESCO in 17th of October 2006. There were about 10 of us. The main organizer was this man here. He's a Swiss Armenian named Sarkis Shahinian. And there are various other people. This person, he's a Canadian MP, Jim Karianis, and various other people from Greece, from Switzerland, from France, and there was also myself. I was probably the only person who had actually been to Joffa and could provide eyewitness testimony. So we were each given about 2 minutes to directly address Mr. Maksoudian, and so I have the words that I spoke to him, and I'll repeat them because they're quite interesting. I said, Monsieur Director General, I, like you, are not Armenian. My connection with Joffa is that I had the good fortune to see the graveyard twice, once in 1992 and again in 2005, 3 months before its final destruction. In 2005 I was also able to witness that Azerbaijan's policy of destroying Armenian sites of cultural importance had almost been completed in Nakhichevan. I visited a number of villages that should have contained medieval churches. Instead, I found bare earth, empty sites, and traces of recent demolition. All of those monuments were worthy of preservation on artistic grounds alone, and they also testify to the long history of Armenian presence in Nakhichevan.